What's up, guys? I was on Netflix the other day looking at their documentaries when I clicked on something I should have never clicked on. That something is Haunters, The Art of the Scare. The main focus of the movie, and what I'm mainly going to be going over, is the McCamey Manor. Basically a haunted house that violated some basic human rights and eventually got shut down by the city. Throughout the documentary, they interview scare actors, psychologists, haunted house OGs, even people who hate being scared.
And I literally, with the back of my hand, smacked Monster right square in the face.
But what they fail to do is call the cops on these sick freaks. Let's take a look, shall we? So the documentary starts out by letting us know a little bit about haunted houses and how they became popular. And then about 4 minutes in, we meet Donald, who looks like the dollar store version of Guy Fieri. But he tells us a little bit about the haunted house he puts on that he spends 3 months creating.
And how many hours is the actual haunt open for?
4.
Not only that, just look at his face when his wife's talking about their future together.
Once we have our children, these traditions will alter somewhat. Not that they'll be gone. We'll always have Halloween. We'll always go to scary mazes, and that's going to be so much fun. But when we have children, and yes, when we have children, we're going to be trick-or-treating with our children on Halloween.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, we will.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see where this goes, because I'm staunchly against this. I will give you Christmas. I will be a father,
You have a
but
couple
I'll be damned if I'm going to give up Halloween for a kid.
He has a couple
It's
more
not going to
years.
happen. No.
I think I can speak for everybody when I say that marriage is going to last very long. The connection between those two radiates positive energy.
I'll be damned if I'm going to give up Halloween for a kid.
So while those two contemplate the inevitable marriage counseling they'll have to go to, we're now introduced to Russ McCamey and his wife Carol, the owners of said McCamey Manor. But before we're formally introduced to them, they interview some of the neighbors, and here's what they have to say about the McCamey Manor haunted house.
I don't know Russ that well. I don't know what type of haunted houses he is trying to aspire to. It was seemed like it took a turn for the worse the last year.
I went through it about 20 years ago. It was very passive, and then since it got more extreme, I've been too afraid to go into it because I don't like being scared like that.
And those were just from the people who don't give a fuck what their neighbors do in their own backyard. But then they interview Grace. She's the kind of person who would get invited to parties but then secretly call the cops because she doesn't like how loud it's getting. Like, she would be the one who passed out drunk but wouldn't get taken advantage of because of how weird she was. Like, listen to how she describes Russ and his wife.
They look like regular people. They look like regular people, but they're not. I would hear the scary things about, what they had going on in the manor down there. Some really crazy stuff going on in that house. And there were some crazy people that lived there.
She's like a little kid who was told that one house on her street was haunted, only she's a grown adult with the tits of a porn star. But anyways, we'll come back to Grace in just a minute. Right now, they finally let us meet Russ and have him break out some of the props he has for his infamous haunted house.
We handcuff them inside this cage, then we slowly fill up the pool. If you ever want to have a simulated drowning experience.
All right. Yeah, I think that's something people try to avoid have being done to them. Like, I don't think people want to experience that, but like, okay, Russ is out here every Halloween offering a simulated drowning experience like a fucking Guantanamo Bay pop-up shop.
If you ever want to have a simulated drowning experience, this is where you want to come.
If you or a loved one is suffering from the need to have a simulated drowning experience, please call the number on your screen for 24-hour help. So since Russ is basically putting people through a form of torture, he lets us know that before anyone can go through or be put on the wait list, they have to be pre-screened to see if they're mentally and physically able to go through.
We pre-screen people. We have to make sure they're physically and mentally okay, because it is, to say the least, very, very challenging.
And you would think he would be asking questions that actually pertain to your mental health. But no, he just asks what are your 3 biggest fears and why you would want to do something like this that lasts 2 to 4 hours.
What would make you want to put yourself through 2 to 4 hours of non-stop terror?
Because I want to prove to myself I'm not a wimp.
2 to 4 hours, though. He already told us one thing he does to us in there. I can only imagine what the rest of the 3 hours and 59 minutes are like. So after Russ gets off Skype with his test subjects, we go back to Grace, who tells us about the first time she ever went through his haunted house back in 2008. And here's where things get confusing, because while Russ is definitely in the wrong here, the way Grace acts through the whole situation just makes it that much worse. So she starts telling us some sob story of how she was looking for a better job and needed a way to relieve some stress, and being is that she can see Russ's house from her backyard, and seeing that he puts on a haunted house every year, she decided that she might as well try it.
And I thought, you know what, this haunted house,
But then she starts telling us what happened while she's in line. Not the actual haunted house, but the line to get in.
I could feel my heart rate going faster. I could feel my hands shake. This is crazy. This is crazy. I can't do it. I will not do it. I'm leaving.
Then, when having a panic attack wasn't enough, she decides to leave like a crackhead who just got caught stealing lighter fluid.
So I jumped over the fence and I made a beeline to my house.
Yeah, because, you know, getting out of line and walking back to your house normally would have been way too obvious. Jumping over a fence and running away when you're in no real danger? I thought that's how everybody left places they didn't want to be.
I'm leaving.
So after Grace runs away, Carol gets concerned, rightfully so, and goes out driving looking for her. And again, instead of being a rational adult and talking to Carol, letting her know, hey, maybe I don't want to go through the haunted house this year, here's what Grace, a full-grown adult, decides to do.
She sees I'm getting close. She dives into these bushes to hide.
You just got to get in your house. If you can get into your house, you're going to be okay.
I think Russ forgot to give her a Skype call because she wasn't even mentally stable to stand in line. Can you imagine if she actually went in? Don't, because she actually does.
Let me out! Russ! Russ, let me out!
So it's right about now that things start to turn, and Russ starts to be the guy you second guess, if you didn't already from the drowning thing. But eventually Grace goes through it and has a horrible time, as you just saw, but then she lets us know that Russ tricks her 2 more times into going through it, all for the sole purpose of his amusement.
I've tricked her into the hunt 3 different times.
Why?
Why? Because I want the footage, that's why.
I think somebody needs to check Russ for his mental stability, because that only a goddamn psychopath would want footage of their friends being scared to the point where it's not funny anymore. So now, thank God, we're taking a break from Russ and learning about how haunted houses like his came to be. But first, let's see what the plus-size guy Fieri has to say.
If you put me in a room with a box cutter, a chair, and some duct tape, I guarantee you'll have the most horrifying experience in your life.
Alright, well, that's pretty fucking scary. After that, we get informed that the Junior Chamber of Commerce were the ones who started doing extreme haunted houses. But then, I shit you not, literally for no reason, right after that, they try to make it seem like when 9/11 happened in New York, that was gonna affect ticket sales at Knott's Berry Farm in California.
Thoughts definitely arose at Knott's. Are people gonna be in the mood for Halloween? And the guests flooded the gates. The park sold out.
Like, unless you had something where planes were crashing into buildings trying to scare people, I don't think anybody was thinking, damn, am I really going to a theme park when people just died in something that's no way related to what I'm doing? Like, maybe if Knott's Berry Farm was in New York, it might affect ticket sales, but dog, literally the next day, people in California went back to business as usual. But after they talk about 9/11, they do a short segment about Blackout, which is basically a haunted house like Russ's, only more official, and they have a theme. But after they talk about one of the co-creators about how it came to be, they start interviewing people who just went through it, and here's what they have to say about this one.
You have to do things in there that I've only dreamt of doing. Things that I would lose my marriage over. Things that would put me in jail for the rest of my life.
This dude's acting like he killed someone and had sex with the body. That's the only way I could see you losing your marriage and going to jail for life for going through a haunted house.
Kind of feel like showering, but like holding myself in the shower. You know what I'm saying? Like curling up into like a little ball.
After, when they're switching things back to Russ, to show us that Blackout, even though putting people's marriages at risk, are the good guys because they have a safe word, something the McCamey Manor doesn't.
The McCamey Manor does not have a safe word. That's just weak.
So remember when Russ said that safe words are weak? Well, I assumed when he said that he had actually been through a test run of his haunted house to see how it feels. But this fat pussy lets us know that he's never even been through it at all.
Would you go through your own?
Of course not. Of course not, because I have common sense.
After that, we find out that it's actually not common sense that kept him from going through his own haunted house. It's the fact that he's already scared of stuff that has a fear factor of 0.
Freaking stop! Stop! Okay.
Sorry.
We then check up on Donald's marriage real quick.
I am celebrating tonight because tomorrow is November 1st. We get to tear all of this down and then focus on Thanksgiving and Christmas and, you know, we don't have to talk about Halloween for at least another 6 months.
And then they let us know that the McCamey Manor is now open all year round every weekend because being open 1 month straight wasn't enough, I guess. But just as quick as they got set up, our prayers are answered and a city inspector comes to shut them down.
People build stuff all the time without permits, and they don't get caught until somebody like me comes along.
And in the end, it turns out that Donald was actually the good guy the whole time, as he was commissioned to do a Zodiac Killer themed setup for a Vegas horror convention. Well guys, that's it. I've never heard about the McCamey Manor haunted house when it was up and running, and after watching this, I'm glad I didn't. If you want to watch it, the documentary is on Netflix, or I left a link in the description to watch it online for free. Until next time. Peace.
When they throw up, what do? You pick up their throw up and you put it back in their face. That's what you do. Or you put it back in their mouth. And what happens? They're going to throw up again.
Release me, please, to believe the evil is coming for you. It's me and 100 warriors armed with swords, and we sorcerers singing glory of the morning that your abortion comes.